I can't believe I transmigrated into a nobody fanning the emperor. The palace maid thought she could survive just by keeping her head down. But her internal roasts were overflowing, and the emperor could hear every single one of her thoughts. In the imperial study, the emperor was discussing state affairs with several ministers. The situation for the soldiers at the northern border is dire. The supply of grain and fodder must keep up. The emperor's voice was deep and commanding. I quietly peeked up to take a look. Wow, what striking features. In modern times, he'd definitely be a top-tier celebrity. Too bad. He's a feudal patriarch who can take my life at any moment. The emperor glanced at me out of the corner of his eye. He coughed twice. Your Majesty, the Ministry of Revenue has allocated 300,000 taels for the military, but the losses reported by the Ministry of War don't match the actual figures. I fear someone is embezzling the funds. Nonsense. The soldiers at the front are fighting a bloody war. How dare you make such false accusations? A cold cough interrupted him. I looked toward the source of the sound. It was a young man about 27 or 28 years old. His face was like polished jade. His aura was as cold and elegant as an immortal. He looks pretty good too. I whistled inwardly. Chancellor Li, what is your opinion? The emperor looked at the immortal-like man. The young chancellor, Li Yi. My eyes couldn't help but wander. Suddenly, I noticed the way the Minister of War was walking. It was a bit strange. His right leg seemed stiff. I chuckled to myself. Isn't this the Minister of War whose wife found his secret stash last night? He was punished by kneeling on a washboard all night. His knees must still be bruised. In an instant, the imperial study became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The emperor's hand, holding the brush, froze in midair. The chancellor's jade ring clinked against his teacup. The Minister of War's face instantly turned the color of pig liver. The general's mouth twitched as if he'd been electrocuted. I was completely unaware. I continued to gossip in my head. I heard the Minister of War's wife is the only daughter of the late Marquis of Jinbei. She's highly skilled in martial arts. Back then, the minister wrote a love poem to win the beauty's heart, but after they got married, he was pinned to the ground by his wife with one hand the very next day. This must be what they call a weak scholar. The Minister of War suddenly dropped to his knees. His head hit the floor, his voice trembling. Your Majesty, the emperor cleared his throat. He said nonchalantly, Minister, since your legs are unwell, rise and continue speaking about the military funds. I fanned him with a blank, poker face, totally oblivious to the way the Minister of War was looking at me. It was like he had seen a ghost. The atmosphere for the rest of the meeting became very strange. Whenever a minister spoke, my attention would involuntarily drift toward their private lives. The Vice Minister of Revenue went out drinking at a brothel again last night, and he got caught red-handed by his wife. He still has scratch marks on the back of his neck. The Vice Minister of Revenue suddenly covered his neck. He even started stuttering when he spoke. The general looks majestic on the outside, but he's actually terrified of his wife. His monthly allowance is only 5 taels of silver. After his secret stash was discovered by his wife, he now has to buy drinks at the tavern on credit. The general spat out a mouthful of tea. Chancellor Li looks cold and celibate, but he actually loves writing romance novels. The stories are all like The Overbearing Prince Falls for me. A crack appeared in the teacup in the chancellor's hand. I was immersed in the fun of the gossip. I didn't notice these abnormalities at all. I was still lamenting in my heart. These men are all so henpecked, but they're probably better off than the emperor. After finishing his work in court during the day, he has to go to the harem and accompany his wives at night. He's actually quite a pathetic man. The emperor's vermilion brush drew a long red streak across the scroll. Finally, the meeting came to an end. They'd better leave quickly before the emperor changes his mind. You, stay behind. The emperor suddenly pointed at me. My hand shook. The feather fan almost slipped from my hand. I wailed internally. Oh no. Did he find out I was spacing out and wants to punish me? Your servant obeys. I knelt down, trembling. Save me. Am I going to die on my first day of transmigration? Other people get to eat and drink well when they transmigrate. Why am I so miserable? Rise. What is your name? Your servant is Su Xiaoyu. I kept my head down, muttering to myself. Why ask for my name? Is he putting it in a little notebook to settle the score later? Wah. I don't want to die yet. The emperor took a sip of tea unhurriedly. Su Xiaoyu, from today on, you will serve exclusively in my presence. I was completely bewildered. What's going on? Wasn't I just someone fanning him? How did I get promoted so suddenly? What, are you unwilling? Your servant wouldn't dare. I thank your majesty for your immense grace. I quickly knelt and kowtowed, but my mind was in an uproar. Good grief, the plot is going the wrong way. I'm just a nobody. How did I suddenly become a favorite in the palace? Is it because I'm good at fanning him? Hee hee. The corner of the emperor's mouth twitched slightly. You may leave. Come back tomorrow for your duties. Your servant takes her leave. I bowed and backed out of the imperial study. As soon as I got out, my legs felt weak, and I had to lean against the wall. That scared me to death. I patted my chest. I caught my breath, but at least I kept my life. By the way, the emperor is really handsome, but his eyes are a bit scary. When he looks at me, I feel like he can see into my soul. Ha ha ha, as if. I shook my head. I skipped toward the maid's quarters, unaware that behind the window of the imperial study, the emperor was looking at my back thoughtfully. The next day, I reported to the imperial study on time. I stood at the door. I felt uneasy. This promotion came too suddenly. Could there be some conspiracy? I stared down at the tips of my shoes. Does the emperor have feelings for me? I was startled by my own imagination. I quickly shook my head. You're Su Xiaoyu. You're a fanning maid. You have neither beauty nor talent. What would the emperor see in you? That you can nap while fanning him? Come in. I pushed the door open softly. The emperor didn't even look up. Not even a glance. It was me. I quickly stood to the side and started grinding ink. Out of the corner of my eye, I glimpsed the contents of the scroll. It was about the soldiers at the northern border. What do you think, Chancellor Li? The northern border soldiers. Your Majesty, I believe the priority is to find out where the military funds went. The ministries of war and revenue are blaming each other. Someone must be sent to investigate thoroughly. The emperor nodded thoughtfully. Suddenly, he glanced at me. What do you think? Your servant wouldn't dare comment on court affairs. I quickly lowered my head, roasting him frantically in my mind. Why are you asking me? Is the emperor testing me? I'm doomed. I'm doomed. It's all right. I grant you permission to speak. The emperor put down his vermilion brush. He looked at me with great interest. I swallowed hard. Your servant thinks Chancellor Li is right. Then who do you think should be sent to verify this? Your servant. I feel like this question is getting more and more dangerous. My eyes darted around. And I saw Vice Minister Wang of the Revenue Ministry walking in. As soon as I saw him, a piece of information popped into my head. The Vice Minister of Revenue's secret stash is hidden under his concubine's latrine bucket, wrapped in oil paper. There's a full 5,000 taels. Wow. Does the emperor know? The emperor suddenly started coughing violently. Li Yi's eyes were full of shock. He couldn't help but glance at the Vice Minister of Revenue. I was confused. Your Majesty, are you all right? I'm fine. The emperor waved his hand. A playful look flashed in his eyes. Minister Wang, you've come at just the right time. I was just discussing with Chancellor Li the investigation of the military funds. This matter is of great importance. I am willing to oversee the investigation personally. Very well. I heard Minister Wang has been tight on money lately. I'm fine. Is that so? Then why would you need to use your secret stash? And hidden in a place like that? Minister Wang immediately fell to his knees. His face turned deathly pale. Huh? My eyes widened. I thought, holy crap, how did the emperor know? Minister Wang, what's wrong? I was just asking casually. The emperor feigned concern. Guards, Minister Wang is unwell. Help him down to rest. Minister Wang was terrified and didn't know what to do. I am willing to surrender my secret stash to the national treasury. For the sake of the country, I only ask your Majesty to forgive me this once. You are very considerate, Minister. I grant it. The emperor paused. He added, before you send it to the treasury, remember to wash it clean. Minister Wang lay flat on the ground, feeling like he'd narrowly escaped death. He quickly kowed out and said, thank you for your mercy. Fine, you may leave. Minister Wang didn't move for a long time. His legs were so weak with fear that he couldn't stand. The emperor gave a look to two guards. The two guards immediately walked over and carried out the limp Minister Wang. I watched him leave, muttering in my heart, how did the emperor know so much? Could he have sent people to spy on his ministers? Wow, that's terrifying to think about. A strange silence fell over the imperial study. The emperor and Li Yi exchanged a look. Then the emperor asked me, Su Xiaoyu, do you have any family? Your Majesty, my parents passed away early. I only have a brother serving in the army at the border. I answered truthfully. But I thought, why is he asking about my background? He's not really going to make me his concubine, is he? Please no, I haven't even been in a relationship yet. The border? Which border? Liangzhou, at the northern border. I answered, then suddenly remembered something. Oh, my brother said in his last letter, that the rice they eat is mixed with sand. The soldiers are full of complaints. I suddenly covered my mouth, and looked at the emperor in horror. I'm finished. Can I just say things like that? Will I be accused of spreading rumors? The emperor and Chancellor Li Yi's eyes lit up at the same time. Did your brother mention which specific unit? It was the Liangzhou garrison. I stuttered, wailing in my heart. Brother, I'm sorry, you might get in trouble because of me. You were sold out by your own sister. Very well. The emperor smiled. He turned to Li Yi and said, Chancellor Li immediately sent people to secretly investigate the Liangzhou garrison. Focus on the military supplies. Li Yi bowed with his hands clasped. I will see to it at once. Before leaving, he gave me a meaningful look. It made my skin crawl. Your Majesty, did your servant say something wrong? I asked cautiously. Quite the opposite. You've done a great service. Guards, reward Su Xiaoyu with 20 taels of silver. I took the reward, dumbfounded. I was completely dazed. What's going on? I just mentioned my brother's letter. How is that a great service? The emperor couldn't be a bit simple-minded, could he? The corner of the emperor's mouth twitched. He pretended not to hear my inner thoughts, and continued to review the scrolls. Over the next few days, I gradually got used to serving the emperor. The emperor seemed to really like asking for my opinion. From major national affairs to trivial matters in the harem, he would ask about everything. I wavered between being cautious and speaking my mind, constantly on edge, terrified that one day I'd lose my head. This day at the morning court, all the civil and military officials gathered in the hall. As the emperor's personal maid, I stood beside him, fanning him. Your Majesty, the envoys from the northern border will arrive in 3 days to discuss peace terms. The Minister of Rights stepped forward to report. The emperor frowned. The king of the northern border wants to marry our princess? Yes, he is willing to offer 500 warhorses as a betrothal gift. To ask for Princess Yong'an's hand in marriage. The court was suddenly filled with chatter. Princess Yongin is the emperor's only sister. She's 16 and very much beloved. When I heard this news, a bunch of information popped into my head. The king of the northern border is over 60 years old. He's had 6 wives, and they're all dead. I heard he has some very strange habits, and this peace talk is a sham. They're using it as an opportunity to spy. Spying is the real goal. The chief envoy in the delegation and the deputy's wife are sisters. They're all cheating on each other. Ha ha ha, they're so ugly and yet they play so much. I was immersed in the joy of the gossip. I didn't notice at all that the whole court had gone silent. I've also noticed lately that my job has become exceptionally easy. The emperor's attitude toward me can even be described as pleasant. The ministers would also nod to me when they saw me while grinding ink for the emperor. I thought happily to myself, could it be that they really appreciate my dutiful and humble personality? The tip of the emperor's brush paused slightly. The corner of his mouth twitched for a moment. The Minister of War, Lord Zhang, seeks an audience, the eunuch announced. The emperor said without looking up, send him in. When Minister Zhang walked in to pay his respects, his right leg was clearly stiff. I took a couple of curious looks. A string of information popped into my head. Lord Zhang hid his secret stash again yesterday, and his wife found it. This time he was punished by kneeling on an abacus. His knees must be covered in little marks. No. I quickly covered my mouth. Lord Zhang glared at me fiercely. I immediately looked down at my nose. I see you're having trouble with your legs, Minister. I grant you a seat. The emperor had a hint of a smile in his eyes. Lord Zhang's face turned red. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your concern. I just accidentally twisted it while practicing martial arts last night. Does Lady Zhang have some new martial arts moves? Lord Zhang almost slipped from his chair. Your Majesty must be joking. I was ecstatic in my heart. Ha ha ha, this is hilarious. So the emperor also knows Lord Zhang is afraid of his wife. It seems Lord Zhang's glorious deeds have already spread throughout the court. The emperor coughed. Minister Zhang, what is it? Your Majesty, the northern border delegation has moved to the embassy, but I have discovered that their entourage has 20 more people than they declared. I fear something is wrong. The emperor looked thoughtful. Who are these extra people? They say they're a merchant group, but they're all sturdy and fit. They don't look like ordinary merchants. Lord Zhang said with a frown. I subconsciously looked at Lord Zhang and started digging for gossip. These people are assassins sent by the king of the northern border. They've disguised themselves as merchants to infiltrate the capital. Their goal is to cause chaos if the negotiations fail. The leader is a man with a scar on his face. He's staying in the second room on the west side of the embassy. The weapons are hidden in secret compartments in the wagons. The emperor suddenly started coughing. It scared me, and I quickly brought him some water. Your Majesty, please take care of your health. Lord Zhang looked concerned. The emperor waved his hand. I'm fine. Minister Zhang, keep a close eye on the embassy. Also, check their wagons for anything unusual. Lord Zhang nodded repeatedly. I obey your command. After Lord Zhang was dismissed, the emperor suddenly asked me, Su Xiaoyu, what do you think the northern border delegation is up to? I was bewildered. Your servant doesn't understand these state affairs. It's all right, just think of it as casual talk. The emperor put down his vermilion brush. He looked at me with great interest. I braced myself and said, your servant thinks they might have ill intentions. And why is that? Just a gut feeling, I said cautiously, but I thought to myself, the target of those assassins seems to be Princess Yongin. They want to kidnap the princess, to force the emperor to give in. The emperor's eyes suddenly turned cold. I see. Guards, summon Chancellor Li and the general. Before long, Li Yi and the general arrived together. The emperor explained briefly that he suspected the northern border's peace talks were a ruse. How dare those northern border scum? I'll lead the guards and surround the embassy. No, without concrete evidence. Surrounding the embassy would violate diplomatic etiquette. Why not beat them at their own game? And lure the snake out of its hole. Chancellor Li is right. Increase the security in the harem. Send some capable men to infiltrate the embassy. Keep a close eye on those merchants. I listened intently from the side, thinking to myself, Chancellor Li is indeed clever. Those assassins plan to make their move in 2 days when the princess is in the garden. If we alert them now, they'll definitely change their plan. And it'll be even harder to prevent it then. A sharp light flashed in the emperor's eyes. The safety of the women in the harem must not be compromised in any way. I will make the arrangements in advance. I will lead the team myself. I'll make sure those northern border scum never return. The general pounded his chest in guarantee. The meeting ended. The 2 ministers took their leave. Su Xiaoyu, in 2 days, you will accompany Princess Yongin to the garden. Me? I pointed at my nose with a look of disbelief. What, are you unwilling? The emperor raised an eyebrow. No. Your servant obeys. I quickly bowed, but my mind was in an uproar. Why me? I'm just a fanning maid. The emperor isn't even giving me overtime pay. Sigh. The emperor's expression became very strange. You may leave. Your servant takes her leave. I left the imperial study, full of doubt. I didn't notice the emperor leaning his head on his hand and sighing. 2 days later, in the imperial garden, I followed Princess Yongin, trembling with fear. Xiaoyu, look how well these peonies are blooming. They're even more vibrant than they were at the Empress Dowager's birthday last year. The princess is right. I agreed with a forced smile. But my eyes were constantly scanning the surroundings. Those assassins should be hiding behind the rockery. Huh? I focused my attention on the rockery. My vision could actually see through the rockery. I saw 5 burly men hiding behind it. Each of them was holding a weapon. The leader was the one with the scar on his face. He had a poisoned dagger at his waist. They planned to strike when the princess passed by the pavilion. Just as I was wondering how to warn the guards, I suddenly heard a loud shout. In an instant, dozens of guards rushed out from all directions and surrounded the rockery. The general, in full armor, stood at the front, looking majestic. Northern border scum, surrender now. The 5 assassins saw their plan was exposed, and they charged out with a roar, fighting for their lives. The scene was very chaotic. I quickly shielded the princess and backed away. Don't be afraid, Xiaoyu. My brother has already made arrangements. Sure enough, in less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, all 5 assassins were subdued. The general came over, dragging the scarred man. Who sent you? The scarred man gave a cold laugh, and suddenly collapsed, foaming at the mouth. The general hurried to grab his chin, but it was too late. I watched from a distance, feeling a wave of fear. Luckily, the emperor was prepared. Otherwise, the princess would have been in danger. Wait, how did the emperor know? Is his intelligence network really that powerful? In this imperial palace, is there really nothing he doesn't know? After the crisis was resolved, the emperor hurried over to check on the princess's safety. After confirming his sister was unharmed, Su Xiaoyu has performed a great service in protecting the princess. Reward her with 100 taels of silver and promote her to the position of imperial Shangyi. I stood there with my mouth wide open. Your servant thanks your majesty for his great grace. When I left the imperial garden, my head was still spinning. I got a promotion just like that? Imperial Shangyi is a high-ranking position. How much will my salary increase? Do I get annual leave? Behind me, the emperor and several ministers exchanged a knowing look. That night, in my new residence, in a small, independent courtyard, I was happily counting 100 taels of silver. Think of how much delicious food this can buy. I rolled around on the bed in joy. Being the imperial Shangyi, my duties changed from just fanning the emperor to tending to his ink and brushes, organizing memorials, and occasionally brewing tea for him. Although there's more work, the benefits have also improved significantly. My monthly pay tripled. I even have my own courtyard and personal maids. The speed of this promotion and raise is practically like riding a rocket, I thought to myself happily, while refilling the emperor's teacup. The emperor was reviewing memorials. The corners of his mouth twitched upward for a brief moment, but he quickly resumed his majestic and stern expression. Your Majesty, the envoys are requesting an audience outside the hall. The head eunuch, Wang Dequan, reported respectfully. The emperor nodded. The 3 northern border envoys strode into the hall. Greetings to the emperor of Great Liang. The leader was the bearded Ashina Hun, followed by a deputy envoy and a secretary. You may rise. The emperor put down his brush. His gaze was sharp as a hawk. Have you considered the terms? Ashina Hun's expression was somewhat strained. Your Majesty, 1,000 warhorses is simply too many. My king can provide 800 at most. I quietly observed them. I couldn't help but start digging up Ashina Hun's secrets. Actually, he brought a secret decree allowing him to agree to 1,000 horses, but he wants to haggle to pocket the remaining 200 horses for himself. The deputy is calculating how to split the loot with his brother-in-law. Damn, that secretary has poison hidden in his belt. He plans to put it in the emperor's tea. The emperor's face darkened. Since the envoys lack sincerity, then please take your leave. Guards, show the guests out. Wait, Your Majesty. Everything is negotiable. Not a single one of the 1,000 warhorses can be missing. Furthermore, add 5 border trade markets. Otherwise, there is nothing to talk about. Sweat broke out on Ashina Hun's forehead. Please allow us to discuss this further. The emperor suddenly slammed the table and rose. Do you envoys truly believe that I am unaware of your plot to kidnap Princess Xiong'an? Unaware of the poison you carry? Unaware of your scheme to line your own pockets? The 3 envoys' faces turned pale instantly, especially that secretary. His hand instinctively moved toward his belt. With one command from the emperor, the guards rushed in immediately. They surrounded the 3 and searched them. Sure enough, from the secretary's belt, they pulled out a packet of white powder. It was Jingtai Et poison. A slow-acting, lethal toxin. Ashina Hun's legs gave out, and he knelt. Your Majesty is wise. This was definitely not authorized by my king. This servant must have acted on his own. In that case, I shall clean house for the northern border king. Take him away and execute him. The secretary struggled frantically as he was dragged out. But you were the one who told me to. Ashina Hun shouted at him to shut up. He then turned back to the emperor with a fawning smile. Your Majesty, this servant is babbling nonsense. Do not take it seriously. The emperor couldn't be bothered with him. 1,000 warhorses, 5 trade markets, plus 100,000 taels of silver, as compensation for distressing Princess Xiong'an. Agree and sign the contract today. Disagree, and I shall immediately deploy troops to the northern border. I stood to the side, completely dumbfounded. Wow, the emperor's bargaining skills are so ruthless. But the northern border is indeed in the wrong. They deserve to be fleeced. Ashina Hun's face was ashen. He exchanged a few looks with the deputy envoy. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, this servant obeys. Minister Li, prepare the contract. Court is adjourned. I was just about to slip away when I was suddenly blocked by Chancellor Li Yi. Shangyi Su, I heard your chess skills are quite good. I wonder if I could learn a thing or two from you. Your servant doesn't know how to play chess. I had a look of complete confusion. Chancellor Li's skills are superb. Shangyi Su, why not give it a try? The emperor suddenly interjected. His eyes held a deep meaning I couldn't understand. I had no choice but to brace myself and agree. Your servant will try her best, though she is unskilled. The chessboard was set up. I sat down, trembling with fear. After the game began, I realized Li wasn't as formidable as I imagined. Or rather, it seemed like he was intentionally taking it easy on me. As I placed my pieces, I thought, why does it feel like he's guiding my moves? I stole a glance at him, and happened to meet his deep gaze. I was so startled I quickly looked down. Has Shang-Su been well lately? In reply to the Chancellor, I am doing very well, I answered dryly. My mind was racing with thoughts. Chancellor Li seems very interested in me. Not that kind of interest. It's more like he's researching me. He has a notebook in his study that records my... Wait, what does it record about me? Just as I wanted to investigate further, Li suddenly stood up. It is getting late. We shall continue another day. With that, he left elegantly, leaving me alone, staring at the chessboard in a daze. What's going on? I scratched my head. Why are all these high-ranking people so mysterious? While putting away the chess pieces, I suddenly noticed under Li Yi's seat, a small notebook had fallen. I picked it up out of curiosity. On the cover was written, Su Xiaoyu. Record of words and deeds. I flipped it open. Good heavens, it was densely packed with records. Of when I said what? No way, does the Chancellor secretly admire me? Otherwise, why would he only record what I've said? No, I'm being too narcissistic. Ha ha ha. Could he suspect me of being disloyal? This terrifying thought made me feel like I'd fallen into an ice cellar, but on second thought, it felt impossible. I must be overthinking. I comforted myself and put the notebook back where it was, deciding to act as if nothing had happened. Back at the Imperial study, the Emperor was reviewing memorials. I walked over quietly to grind ink, but my mind was still on that notebook. The Emperor's brush paused for a moment. Then he continued writing as if nothing were wrong. Tomorrow is a day off. You may go out of the palace for a stroll. Really? Thank you, Your Majesty. Take the guards I've assigned. The Emperor added. Early on my day off, I changed into common clothes. I grabbed my purse and went to the East Market. The East Market was bustling with people. Various shops were lined up. I was like a bird out of a cage, looking here and touching there, completely forgetting the two bodyguards behind me. Come see the fine rouge and powder. I walked up to a counter. The exquisite porcelain boxes caught my eye. Is the young lady from the palace? My hand shook. I almost dropped the rouge box. How did you know? This old lady's eyes are the sharpest at reading people. You are so fair and lovely. You must be serving someone important in the palace, right? I became alert. I instinctively started to gather her secrets. This woman is a northern border spy. She's specifically stationed outside the palace, looking for palace workers to act as informants. She plans to recruit me, to poison the Emperor's food. I gasped. I quickly took 2 steps back. Sorry, I suddenly remembered I have something to do. With that, I turned and left. The 2 guards immediately followed. The woman shouted from behind, don't go yet. I have even better goods here. I quickened my pace without looking back, not daring to stop for breath until I'd turned 2 street corners. After that, my interest in shopping was completely gone. I got straight onto the carriage back to the palace. My mind was filled with that northern border spy. Should I tell the Emperor? I thought with conflict. But if I tell him, how do I explain how I knew she was a spy? What if the Emperor asks for my source of information? Just as I returned to my courtyard, a small eunuch came to meet me. Shang-Su, His Majesty summons you to the Imperial study. At the Imperial study, the Emperor asked if my outing today was pleasant. It was fine. I suddenly thought of the spy, hesitating over whether to report it. The Emperor keenly sensed my hesitation. Did you encounter trouble? No. It's just that there's a rouge shop in the market. The proprietress was a bit strange, I said vaguely. Your servant felt she didn't seem like an honest businessperson. What made her suspicious? The Emperor's eyes sharpened immediately. Just a gut feeling. She seemed unusually interested in palace affairs. The Emperor nodded thoughtfully. I will have someone investigate. I felt a sigh of relief in my heart. 3 days later, at the Empress Dowager's birthday banquet, I stood behind the Emperor, trembling with anxiety. The banquet hall was filled with princes, dukes, and nobles. The glittering jewels made my eyes wander. The Empress Dowager was an elegant and noble elderly lady. She looked kind and gentle. Emperor, is this the girl you mentioned? It is indeed Shang-Su. She is clever and quick-witted. I thought mother would like her. The Empress Dowager motioned for me to come forward. My legs were shaking. Your servant pays her respects to the Empress Dowager. May your majesty have happiness as vast as the sea and live as long as the southern mountain. You certainly have a sweet tongue. Do you happen to know if Vice Minister Zhao of the Ministry of Rights is truly as the rumors say? That he keeps a mistress and has an illegitimate son? My eyes widened. I didn't know how to respond for a moment. Mother, the Emperor interjected helplessly. The Empress Dowager laughed heartily. Fine. I was just curious. With that, she even winked at me. I retreated to my original position, completely bewildered. My heart was full of internal complaints. What is going on? Is the Empress Dowager really this fond of gossip? But Vice Minister Zhao really does have a mistress. Right in Osmanthus Lane in the west of the city. The child is already 5 years old. He looks exactly like him. The Emperor suddenly started coughing. Several ministers sitting nearby also covered their mouths. The Empress Dowager's composure was deep. Her face was expressionless, but a flash of satisfaction from getting the gossip sparkled in her eyes. Halfway through the birthday banquet, a maid carrying a tray of pastries walked toward the Empress Dowager. I happened to glance at her, and my whole body tensed up instantly. This maid is a northern border spy. She put poison in that tray of pastries. I was sweating with urgency. Seeing the Empress Dowager about to reach for a pastry, I couldn't think too much. I lunged forward. Your Majesty, wait. The entire hall went silent in an instant. Everyone looked at me. Your servant just wanted to say. I thought quickly. These pastries look so delicious. Could your Majesty allow your servant to taste them for you first? A sharp light flashed in the Empress Dowager's eyes. What a greedy little girl. Granted. I took the pastry. Pretending to taste it, I used my sleeve as a cover, and dropped it into my pocket. I made a show of chewing. It's delicious, but it seems there's too much sugar. Didn't your Majesty say recently you wanted to eat less sweets? The Empress Dowager understood. She waved her hand. In that case, take them away. The maid's face turned pale. And she hurriedly retreated. The Emperor gave a subtle look. And the commander of the guards quietly followed her out. After the birthday banquet ended, the Emperor called me to a side hall. You have performed another service today. Your servant doesn't understand. I played dumb. The imperial physician tested it. There was indeed poison. I gasped. The maid has already confessed. She's a remnant of the northern borders Shi clan. She wanted to poison the Empress Dowager to stir up internal chaos in Great Liang. How did you know the pastries were poisoned? Your servant saw she looked flustered, and thought it was suspicious. Very well. Go back and rest. The Emperor didn't press me further. Thank you, Your Majesty. My status in the palace became increasingly unique. Nominally, I was still the imperial Shangyi, but in reality, the treatment the Emperor gave me was almost equal to that of a consort. I moved into Jingyao Pavilion. My living space doubled in size. My monthly pay doubled again. And I had 2 young maids specifically serving me. I was eating rose cakes, when a young maid ran in frantically. Shangyi, this is bad. The northern border has attacked. I spat out a mouthful of tea. I was urgently summoned to the imperial study. The Emperor was discussing strategies with several ministers. Their expressions were all grave. Your Majesty, the northern border is coming on strong. They have already broken through 2 of our border cities. The general pointed at the map. I request to lead the campaign immediately. But Li shook his head. The northern border is prepared this time. Rushing into battle might lead to heavy losses. It is better to hold our ground first. Su Xiaoyu, what do you think? I had a look of complete confusion. Your servant doesn't understand military affairs. It's all right, just tell us your thoughts. The Emperor's tone was gentle, but his gaze brooked no refusal. I braced myself and said, your servant thinks the northern border king suddenly starting a war must have a reason, right? Could something have happened in their country? Continue. I heard that the northern border had a drought this year, and the grain harvests were poor, I said cautiously. Then I started digging up secrets in my mind. Sigh. So it's because the northern border king's most beloved third prince has contracted a strange illness. The imperial physicians there are all at their wits' end. The northern border king started this war because he wants to kidnap Great Liang's imperial physicians to cure him. The Emperor took a deep breath. Minister Li, immediately send someone to investigate the situation of the northern border king's sons. Check their recent health to see if there is internal strife. 3 days later, the spies brought back news. The Emperor slammed the table and issued a decree. Send the head of the imperial hospital to the northern border to treat the third prince. At the same time, order the border troops to strengthen their defenses. Establish our prestige. A month later, the northern border withdrew its troops. The head of the imperial hospital performed a miracle and cured the third prince. The northern border king was deeply grateful. Not only did he fulfill all the terms of the previous contract, he also sent an additional 500 fine horses. At the victory banquet, the Emperor publicly announced that Shangyi Su had performed many services, and specially conferred upon her the title of County Princess of Anil, along with a residence and 1,000 taels of gold. My jaw almost hit the floor. Why aren't you thanking him? Your servant thanks your Majesty for his great grace. I quickly knelt, but in my mind, I was thinking, oh no, giving me such high status. Could the next step be making me a consort? Please, no. The Emperor's mouth twitched, but in the end, he said nothing. After moving into the County Princess manor, my life underwent world-shaking changes. Nominally, I was still the Emperor's imperial Shangyi, but in reality, I no longer needed to go to the palace for duty every day. The Emperor specially permitted me to enter the palace at any time. He even issued an order for me to go listen to the gossip of the ministers every day. The Empress Dowager practically treated me as her own daughter. She summoned me to the palace every few days. Anil, I heard the Minister of War has hidden private money again. I swallowed a grape and reported to the Empress Dowager. This time, Minister Zhang hid the money inside the hollowed-out covers of his copies of the Analects, a full 200 taels. Unfortunately, not a penny is left. It was all confiscated. He doesn't even have his usual pocket money anymore. He's quite pitiful. The Empress Dowager laughed so hard she slapped her thigh. Seeing the Empress Dowager so happy, I also felt joyful. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. In these 10 years, relying on my keen intuition and precise judgment, actually, it was my melon-eating ability. I helped the imperial court solve many troubles. The northern border eventually became our ally. The Huns in the west were beaten so badly they didn't dare invade. I, Su Xiaoyu, became the most unique noble in the history of Great Liang. I had no real power, but my status was transcendent. I didn't participate in politics, but the Emperor always asked for my opinion when things happened. County Princess, Ministerly requests an audience. The servant reported, please show him in. I put down the melon seeds in my hand. Li walked in, still looking like that cool, immortal-like figure. Minister Li, how do you have time to visit me today? I asked with a smile. Li performed a salute. This is a storybook I recently wrote. I asked the county princess to review it. I took it from him. On the cover was written, "The domineering chancellor falls for me." No. I couldn't help but laugh. Minister Li still enjoys writing storybooks so much. Li Yi's face turned slightly red. I wrote it for fun when I had nothing to do. If the county princess thinks it's inappropriate, it's perfectly appropriate. I quickly tucked the book away. I love reading the storybooks Minister Li writes the most. After seeing Li Yi off, I received several more guests. Some came to ask about their colleagues' privacy. Some came to ask me to put in a good word for them. Surprisingly, some even came to ask for relationship advice. County princess, my husband has been returning home late recently. Do you think he's having an affair? The general's wife asked with deep worry. Don't worry, madam. The general is secretly preparing a surprise for your 40th birthday. He bought a piece of land in the western suburbs and is personally building a villa for you. Really? That old man? Then I'll pretend I don't know. The general's wife's worry turned into joy. Exactly. I nodded with great seriousness. After sending off the last guest, I stretched lazily, preparing to go for a walk in the garden. Just as I walked to the corridor, I saw the emperor. Well, I should call him the retired emperor now. He abdicated the throne to the crown prince last year and became a leisurely retired emperor. Why has your majesty come? I asked in surprise. I had nothing to do, so I came to play chess with you. The retired emperor shook the chessboard in his hand. In these 10 years, the emperor's change has been the greatest. He is no longer that majestic and cold sovereign from before. Instead, he has become easygoing and fond of laughing. He especially likes to drop by my county princess manner. I joked. And you're a sore loser, too. When have I ever been a sore loser? The retired emperor glared. Last time you lost 3 games in a row, you insisted I had stolen your pieces. Well, you obviously did. The retired emperor's face turned red. Where's the evidence? I felt it. We bickered while playing chess. As natural as every other day in the past 10 years. Halfway through the game, the retired emperor suddenly asked, Xiaoyu, you are 35 this year, aren't you? I replied casually, staring at the chessboard. Have you never thought about starting a family? The retired emperor asked seemingly casually. My hand trembled, and the chess piece fell onto the board. Your Majesty, why do you suddenly ask this? The retired emperor looked at me with burning eyes. Just curious. You clearly know that as long as you nod your head, how many people would be lining up to marry you? Forget it, I'm doing quite well on my own. Getting married is so troublesome. I'd have to serve a husband and raise children. Unlike now, I eat when I want to, play when I want to, and can watch the drama every day. Do you plan to spend your whole life like this? Is there anything wrong with that? I am the happiest county princess in Great Liang. I have status, money, and freedom. Ha ha ha, fine. Have it your way. We played chess for a while longer, until twilight set in. Only then did the retired emperor stand up to leave. As I saw him to the door, he suddenly turned back. Xiaoyu, have you truly never considered entering the palace? I was stunned. This was the first time in 10 years he had asked so directly. I smiled. Your Majesty, a person like me is not suited for life within the palace walls. The retired emperor looked at me quietly for a while, then nodded gently. I understand now. Actually, I knew. In these 10 years, the emperor had been waiting for me to change my mind. But I knew even better, that once I entered the palace, I could never be the happy Su Xiaoyu again. It's better this way. A lifetime of eating melons, spreading joy to everyone. Spring went and autumn came, many more years passed. I realized my ideal. I spent my life eating melons and never married. I witnessed Li Yi's storybooks evolve from the domineering chancellor falls for me to the cold general's little charming wife. I witnessed the minister of war and his wife go from matching wits to growing old together. I witnessed the great general's daughter marry that infatuated schoolteacher, and the retired emperor, until the last moments of his life, kept the habit of coming to my manor to play chess. On the day he passed away, he left me a secret decree. County Princess Annal, Su Xiaoyu, may enter and leave any part of the palace at any time, and no one may stop her. This was the last gift he gave me, the right to continue eating melons. The new emperor treats me, an old county princess favored by the late emperor, with great courtesy. The new young concubines in the palace surrounded me, their eyes sparkling. Great Aunt Annal, tell us quickly, did the concubine of the Vice Minister of Revenue really push the legal wife into the well? I leisurely cracked melon seeds, smiling like a Maitreya Buddha. It's a long story. The afterglow of the setting sun spilled over the palace tiles. My circle of fellow melon eaters has changed yet again.